So we are all back in the main room. So I think we have about 71 participants so far. This is the last leg. Let me just get myself familiarized. I have three things going on here. So if you didn't have, I think our session had a little bit of time to have a break. If you didn't have, just take a quick break and come back in and catch up. Okay, so this is going to be the final run. We will have a presentation, a short presentation by myself on the educational development at SUTD, and also the closing note by our Associate Provost for Undergraduate Studies and SUTD Academy, Professor Pei Kin Leong, on digital learning. So we hope that this entire session from the different colleagues has been very inspiring, and it's providing a lot of insights on how we can do digital learning. Right now, before I go on to my session, I want to introduce this Design Education Summit by IDC, and just like to cut off some minutes from my session to introduce this. IDC is a partner in International Design Center. SUTD MIT International Design Center is a partner in the organization of the Design Education Summit. I think you all got the email this morning. It's a biannual conference to inspire educators on evolving global design, innovation trends, and the value of design. IDC recently concluded a call for stories on design education with the Design Singapore Council. So this call invited educators worldwide to share their stories of design education in their institution. So it doesn't matter if you're from SUTD or outside, okay? As long as you're involved in design education, you can share your stories here. With the success of the previous call, IDC is now launching a second round of call for stories, especially from the SUTD community, to share your stories of using design in education. It's open to all in the community, whether you're a student, whether you're an educator, or you're an alumni. So you can share your perspective, and that is something that we are trying to do with the SUTD Pedagogy Day too. And you'll notice that we have graduate students, you have undergraduate students, you have faculty member and staff member participating in this. Okay, similar way, design education is also opening up to everyone. Its selected stories will be celebrated across media. So let's see the video on the call for stories. Fraser will be playing the video for us. Thank you, Fraser. Is that a sound, Fraser? No sound, right? Is it okay? Okay, can we replay? Maybe I have to undo my sound, I think. Is it played from my screen? No, but it's on my screen. There's no sound. Fraser, are you Fraser, you're muted, so you have to unmute and then play the.
Okay.
Yeah.
So sorry about it.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, then just let me share that.
Okay, we will come back for the video. Okay, let me give some time to Fraser for him to figure out the video. While he figures out the video, I will do my slide presentation. Okay, so Fraser, if I can share my screen.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I will share my screen. So this is going to be a short presentation on educational development at SUTD. So I'm not sure if, talk on digital learning, whether you find it interesting or not, but I'm obligated to share with you what we do at Learning Sciences Lab and Office of Undergraduate Studies in terms of educational development. And I hope that that sharing would, it would interest you in a way. So in view of the time, I'm not going to do this Mentimeter. I had 2 questions, but I would skip this. I was going to ask you, what sort of educational development work are you involved in? Participating in this pedagogy day, participating in the LSL talks, or it doesn't have to be even LSL. It can be with library, it can be with EdTech, it can be with any other aspects of teaching and learning. And many of these things will actually come under educational development, whether it is innovations, whether you're reflecting, researching, so on and so forth. And part of our role as educational developers are to inspire teachers in excellent and improving teaching and also improving learning, therefore. So the motto that we have is engage teaching for effective teaching, and effective teaching for effective learning, right? So engage learning for effective learning as well. So over the years, we actually came up with a strategy of how we want to do educational development at SUTD. And this was much earlier, in the early days of 2016, 2017, as we started up the Learning Sciences Lab. We set out the goal to move from individual development. That means, it's not just about improving one's own teaching and learning, but it's also about sharing this with the community and moving together, collaborating and growing as a team together. So it's going to be more of a community-oriented development activities. So it also includes graduate teaching assistants, undergraduate teaching assistants, but we cannot stretch to everyone. So we focus on certain groups like graduate teaching assistants and faculty members. And we want to create opportunity for staff members as well to play a role in this. And you can see that even in today's event, members from library are also helping us. Okay, include a change from teaching from our own inspirations and ideas and creativity to scholarly teaching. That means referring to literature on what has been done and improving our teaching, to scholarship of teaching and learning, which is scholarly teaching. Okay, it's based on literature, what other people are doing, what we have experienced, what is good, what is not good. Like what Oka, mentioned in his talk, what do other people do, or what Norman talked about, as in what kind of online assessments do other people do, and then refining our own learning strategies, collecting evidences, what do our students feel about our innovations in teaching? Do they really learn? And you would have heard it from the other speakers. I was in track 1, so I refer to the speakers from there. So Keegan talked about if they use personalized learning or if they use augmented reality, does it really mean that the excitement translates to learning? What is the evidence for it? And then having this platform for sharing with the community. So that is scholarship of teaching and learning. And we want to move away from short-term to long-term kind of continual professional development. So it's not about short-term workshops. So you never see LSL doing, like short-term workshops really. Right. And then we also leverage on training opportunities like professional recognition, such as the SUTD Advanced Higher Education Fellowship. So it's not just recognition within the university, but it is recognition universally, internationally. All right. And we want to connect the SUTD members with the local community as well as the community across the globe. And you would see that example in today's event as well. So we put it in a blueprint, and if I may just cut it short, okay, just to give an overview. The blueprint is that we will try to reach all our faculty members as long as they are involved in teaching, staff members involved in teaching, through scholarship of teaching and learning, through community work like the Pedagogy Day and Eduscapes, talks and seminars. So this applies to everyone. And then we have selected group of people, of their own choice. They are the champions. So we don't say that you must do, but it is the faculty members themselves who are champions in starting up their projects, and where needed, they get support, whether it is from LSL, UGS, other officers. Maybe it is from EdTech, maybe it's from others. It doesn't matter, right? So they get innovation funds and research support and things like that. And then a selected few, okay, the early career or the new faculty members, they may come for some training, or if the faculty members themselves feel that they want me to go and help them in their teaching, I might do some coaching work with them. Or it can be nominated members who go for AHE fellowship. So this is the kind of stakeholder reach that we have. And in doing so, we have done a lot of benchmarking studies and defining what is educational development, for instance. And at SUTD, in conducting a research in Singapore, we have defined educational development to be instructor, instructional, organizational, student and community development. And this actually contributes to the international definition of educational development, which tend to focus on the first three only. So we are not only doing, we are doing a research of our own work as well, reflection and research of our own work as well. So you see that a lot of these activities that we do at LSL, whether it is the new faculty workshop, whether it is consultations that we do on flipped learning or educational research work, and forming strategic new developmental opportunities like the SUTD AHE program that comes under organizational development. And sometimes we work with faculty members to run workshops for students. So that is learning to learn workshops, and it's mostly student development. And then we do a lot on community development. Okay, so I'm not going to go into details. We tend to focus a lot more on instructor development, organizational development, and community development. And in our benchmarking studies, we realized that some universities, most universities focus on instructor development. That is our primary role, okay? But some other universities also, because of their bandwidth, the number of students that they have, the faculty, the teaching mode, they focus a lot on the students as well. Okay, so it all comes to manpower issues and things like that. So to give the context, we have a very small team. The educational development work is done mostly by myself. I do have Fraser supporting me, but it's more on the administrative matters. All right, and we have limited funding. We need to get stakeholders to understand what we're doing. We need to get buy-in, and we need to set up the process. Now, this context is not just in terms of setting up a new program, but it's in doing all our work. And the highlight for this year has been the SUTD Advanced Higher Education Fellowship Program. And some of you may be aware of the program, and some of you may not be aware. So let me just try and just brief a little bit more about it. This has actually been a journey that we have started for the last 2-3 years now. Okay, we started up the Learning Sciences Lab in 2016, and I started searching for an international recognition of faculty members from 2017. And we launched this in 2019, and 2020, we completed the first batch. And our hope is that we will go on to include more people applying for the fellowship, making this a community effort at SUTD. So that is the big overview. And in finding out, what is this program about? What is this fellowship about? So I try to understand this kind of educational fellowship programs. Now, I think in engineering and in other fields, there are different kind of fellowship program that that will recognize a professor or a teaching person for their contributions in research, for their accomplishments, and so on and so forth. But this is a teaching portfolio, teaching reflection based educational fellowship program. it's focusing mostly on teaching, and we realize that there are not many people who are doing that. In Singapore, we have the Institute of Adult Learning, which is doing a fellowship, but it was mostly on they have two versions. One version of it was mostly on the number of teaching that you have done over the years, maybe 1,000 hours, reaching out to how many students. So it tend to be more mechanical based on numbers, and it wasn't reflective. And it is, to me, it is quite critical that it is reflective, so that it is a learning process in involving in that fellowship program. You just don't want to get a certificate, right? You want that process to be meaningful and developmental in that process. So the other things that we identified was International Society for Scholarship of Teaching and Learning Fellowship, which gave fellowship for people involved in scholarship of teaching and learning. And then there was the Advanced Higher Education Fellowship. So we had identified, but then I myself have never tried these things, what it means as reflective writing and fellowship and so on and so forth. So I took the plunge in applying for this fellowship, trying to learn how to do reflective writing, what kind of evidences do we need to put forward, and so on and so forth. And I also reached out to my ex-colleagues who have done this kind of program. So for instance, in 2017, we invited Mr. Glenn O'Grady from Australia, and he was an ex-colleague who had done, who implemented this AHE program at a university level. So this is different from what we have done at SUTD. So at a university level means they actually come up with a coursework, which is very, very detailed, right? And then they certify themselves. So they don't send the portfolio outside. And it's a very elaborate process that they had set up. But because our faculty number is smaller, and we didn't have that kind of resource support at the beginning, right? So we decided that for us, the model is going to be more individual based, but then we sort of merge it into our own program. That's why we call it a SUTD AHE program, because we have some support functions within SUTD as well through LSL and particularly myself, right? So we also had to, the educational process, we also had to run a lot of stakeholder meetings with departments, with finance, with HR, with faculty members, with the heads. And there were many meetings, and then we also had to set up the process, like the procurement process, nomination process for who is going to, it is not that we want to limit, but there is only certain bandwidth of people. I can only do 5, 6 people or 10 people at one go, right? Like there's no point in me saying that I want to work with 20 members and me not being able to do that. So we decided that we will go with 2 nominees from each pillar or so, and then we will expand it out slowly, because then we will have the other fellows to support me in that process as well. So one of the expectation of the SUTD AHE program and our fellows who were announced today is that they are supporting in this program to help others. So you might ask, oh, they are just going to get this fellowship and then they're going to do more work. Well, it's doing more work, but then they can actually get a higher recognition as well for supporting their fellow colleagues. So it's a next level, in a way, it is a progression for themselves as well. So it is creating opportunities for them as fellows in that way. And the outcomes has been unexpected and fantastic. All of us had gotten the fellowship. And also to receive the first principal fellowship, we had no idea that they didn't have it in Singapore. So it was fantastic. And of course, this cannot be done without all these people support, Prof. Pei, Kin Leong, Glenn, and the community of educational developers from Singapore, from all the various universities, because we actually wanted to start it up as a national, like every university is part of this program. But then we were not ready at the same time. So we just had to go on SUTD because we are small and nimble. So we could do it earlier. So being first doesn't mean that we are greater, but I think it is about we are able to very nimbly, because of our open and collaborative nature, we are able to achieve some things a little faster. But at the end of the day, it is really about what we are going to do with this eventually. So we also have to thank all our SUTD colleagues, HR, for financing this, and the LSL team. All right, and I just wanted to very quickly tell about the different other things that we are doing, supporting educational research, pedagogical research, or scholarship of teaching and learning. We had the Intel conference. We have a lot of funds that is internally available as well as externally, and the number of applicants have been going up. Also the also the successful applicants. We have been hosting a lot of talks this year, and also visiting places and doing a lot of online digital conferences. Many of this has been digital, of course, right? And of course, this pedagogical day and the magazine, we have been doing it for the last 4 years. And we put together the EPTL website as a collaborative project with many people, with many officers in SUTD. And we do GTA course on teaching at SUTD, coaching on teaching, etc. So these are a lot of things that we have been doing. And one thing is to do the work, but no, is there really impact of the work? What is the impact of the work? One of the models that is used often in evaluating this kind of training programs or faculty learning and development programs is using Kirkpatrick's evaluation model, where we look at the reaction. Did you like this pedagogy day? Was it satisfactory? You know, what's your students' feedback? That is a reaction. That's a that's just the satisfaction level. And then what was the learning? You know, if you translate it to your teaching and learning, it is what was the quiz mark? What was the test mark? All right, and then change in behavior is, did you manage to apply that whatever that was learned as a, you know, that's what we do with students. Were you able to apply it in a project? All right, and then eventually measuring impact is much more than that. What has been the outreach? And there's different views of this, in that one, I think the earlier view was that it is layer by layer, one after another. But I think more and more commonly, it is being recognized that it is all interlinked, and we have to look at the various levels. We have to look at multiple indicators. And Chalmers, she is a very reputed person who looks at evidencing the impact of faculty educational development work. She is from Australia. And she suggests that we look at not just the outcomes, but also the input factors that goes into it. And she bases it on Guskey's 5-level model. One is like to see the teacher's reaction. Just now we saw that as well. The conceptual changes, the behavioral changes, and then the impact 4 and 5, change in organizational culture, practices, and student learning. So in our case, because LSL doesn't really reach out to students as much, you know, this is how much we can go, right? So we focus on the first 4, and we see that in terms of the output and outcomes, these are some of the indicators that we can look at in terms of recognitions as teaching fellows, or maybe getting some awards for teaching and learning or something like that. And then the number of grants and awards that we are getting or applying for, at least. First, we have to apply. So we have to first increase that funnel, right? And then we have more people winning. So we are working on that slowly. And then indicators of teaching and learning improvements. How do we know that it's improving? If you look at each and every every faculty members teaching and learning in their classroom, because they do scholarship of teaching and learning, there is evidence that their teaching has improved, right? And because how do they know? The students' learning has improved. So as educational developers, we don't work with students, but we work with faculty members in influencing. And it may not be working directly on their teaching. It can be in creating this kind of learning opportunities for them, and so on and so forth. All right. So we also have improvement in terms of student feedback on their teachers. developments across teams, time and distance, which I want to share a little bit more, and also participation and feedback. So the participation and feedback numbers are also critical reaction indicators, and I invite you to provide feedback on today's event. So I just want to focus on the developments across the teams and time and distance. So over the years, the point that I want to make is that we are not saying that educational development unit is the only unit that leads to or contributes to or causes all this growth. What we are saying is that this unit, educational development units, also play a part, all right? So in 2017 Pedagogy Day, it was about augmented virtual reality learning. And then we have people who are working on AR, VR in different subjects. So we may not be involved in the classroom, but by inspiring, by bringing together people, I think more people are doing, that is our job. All right, so it's developments in various teams and disciplines, and you see that this is across the years, and even within like 2019, we had the talk by Shubham from Cerebri, and then we saw Sergey talking about the Cerebri developments this year. And I'm using examples from today's pedagogy conference. So Alistair, he's from Singapore, and Dichim is from Netherlands. All right, so it's across distance. And so we see these are all the impact factors in terms of output. And the input factors are, we try to keep it quite economical in terms of our programs. We develop our websites and things like that. And resources is also very limited. So it is that we need to be very resilient in our job. And the point is that the point of putting up this poster is that, see, any development, any movie, any project, any educational development work is not done by one person. It's done by a team. So you have production people, you have music people, you have different people playing all their part. And when everybody plays their part very well, then it's a great production. And in the same way, whatever we have achieved today is not because of us as one person trying to achieve that. It's because the faculty members have contributed and done their best. It's because the UGS office has played their part and done their best. They have put in the money, they have put in the support system. So all of this has been possible to make it happen. So the outcomes are really team efforts. It's not just one person. Our roles are different, and we are recognized for our individual roles. And whether, how much of contribution, is it statistically significant or not? I'm not sure how to measure that, but we continue to contribute our very best efforts. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your attention. And I actually want to invite you, okay, because I've shared with you what are the educational development overall picture in terms of the instructor development and so on and so forth. And our achievements and our things, right? But I would like you to take a couple of minutes to go to this website and very quickly just put in your thoughts. Even though I may not be able to share it in today's event in view of time, what I can do is I can take a snapshot, and it will also help us to shape our future developments that we have at SUTD. All right, with that, I'd like to thank off and sign off from this particular session. I want to have time for the video as well as Prof. Pei's talk. All right, thank you so much. So can you help to, is it possible to share the, oh, okay, wait, I'm also the host, so I cannot just walk off, right? Wait. Okay. Sumbul, do you want to add anything more?
So hello everyone, this is Sumbul Khan from IDC. I think Nacha, you've already said the most of it, but we are running a very exciting call, and it's a call for stories from educators to share their stories and experiences of design education. And I see that, you know, a lot has been discussed this throughout this day, and I can see that a lot of very interesting stories can come out of it. So it's just that, you know, we previously ran the call with Design Singapore Council, and in that call we asked for stories from worldwide educational institutes. This effort is particularly focused towards the SUTD community, so we'd really like to hear your stories. For more details, you can go to the IDC website, and we'll be sending you more details over the email soon. Thank you everyone.
Okay, thanks everyone. While I pass on the time to Prof. Pei, I just wanted to show you that your inputs are getting in here. So you can go to the Mentimeter and put in your thoughts there. We may not be able to fulfill everything, but we would like to hear your thoughts. All right, thank you so much for that. And without much ado, the last part of the talk, I would like to invite, may I request everyone to just give a few more extension of minutes to Prof. Pei. I'm sorry I took a little more time. Prof. Pei will be sharing on digital learning, and we will give the sharing screen option to Prof. Pei so he can do his session. Prof. Pei, the time is all yours. I'm so sorry I took an extra few minutes.